Alright, so this first kit is one that I'm pretty sure, well actually I know you've never seen it before. This is the AIS Vega from Phantasy Star Online 2, one of my favorite games, especially if you scroll back on the channel long enough, you'll see a bunch of videos from Phantasy Star. But yeah, this kit, I got it for Christmas in 2023. It was really the first proper model kit I'd built in a very, very, very long time. It's alright. It's definitely kind of a weird kit. You can build it as either the regular AIS or the Vega. I may end up doing the regular AIS at some point on the channel, but probably not for a while. And then next, we have the CFA 44 Nosferatu from Ace Combat. I am a humongous Ace Combat fan, so you'll be seeing one more build from Ace Combat a bit later on. But yeah, this was another one from Christmas of 2023. Again, pretty easy kit, although I will say way too many tiny decals. Like, there's just a bazillion tiny little decals, especially because this is a really small kit. But regardless, pretty fun, pretty alright. And then we have my first Gundam, the original, the high-grade RX-178 Mark II. I got this at a local hobby store. I was coming back from actually an amusement park of all things, and standing in line, I asked a friend who was getting something. I asked him about it, and I said, I said something to the effect of, I can't wait to see it paint. He's like, I'm not painting this. This is already colored. I was like, it's already colored? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, man, that sounds nice, because I've been painting all these models all the time. And it's kind of sucks. So I went ahead and picked this up at random. It was in a line, so I ran out of line, grabbed the first kit I saw, and was like, alright, this'll do. And yeah, I had a great time, and sure enough, I was back at the model shop next week to pick up this, the first Master Grade ever built, the X-10A Freedom Gundam. Yeah, this was this is a build I'm not entirely happy with. It's a sticker build. Stickers suck. We all know this. At least I know this. And it also had the kinetic decals, the wipe decals, I think they're called. Dry apply, whatever. Which I've developed a strong hatred for. So you'll be seeing another one of these kits a bit later on, because I decided, not really liking this, so I'll get a new one. And then I did my first reveal grade, which was the Epion. So I am a huge fan of the Epion. It's probably in the top 10 of my favorite Gundam designs of all time. And this was the only Epion they had at the store, and I wasn't buying stuff online yet. We'll come to that. And so I decided to pick up this little Epion kit. Overpriced, yes, but it's a really cool kit, and I sort of wish I'd gone ahead and done proper decals, gotten a proper stand for it, and whatnot. So this one I may end up doing again in the future at some point. We'll see. Still, cool kit. Had a lot of fun building it. And the last kit that I didn't record is this guy, the Master Grade Extreme Strike Freedom, which you should have also seen on the channel more recently. But yeah, I was mostly just curious. I wanted to see what a big old Master Grade complicated kit like this would be, and I got it. And it's a really fun build if you're not trying to, spend a bunch of time doing constant panel lining and trying to make metal joints work. We'll get to that when we get to it. And also not having to wire a bunch of electronics. We'll get to that too. So this was another pretty fun, easy build that I had a lot of fun with, and it's still hanging around. It looks good. It's a nice build looking kit, but I will say that my new version definitely does look quite a bit better. And now we start with the kits I've actually recorded on video. So I ended up picking up this YF-19 kit at a local hobby store. I'm a small Macross fan, I'd say. I enjoy some of the kits, but we'll get to that later on. But yeah, this one was a nice little high-grade YF-19 that I found at a local shop. Had a lot of fun building it. But that same day that I brought this home, I also ended up getting this in the mail. This is the Master Grade for Sasabi, which is one of my absolute favorite builds I ever did. Had a ton of fun putting this thing together. I've been tempted to grab another one and go back and just go to ham with custom decals and all sorts of extra parts. I've resisted it so far, but, maybe one day, we'll see. Really fun build. And then we're back to the little tiny Ace combat kits. I got this one for Christmas of, was it 23? It might have been 24, I forget. Either way, pick this one up. It's a nice, pretty simple little kit. I was sort of needing a bit of a cooldown from the Sosby, so hey, why not? Decals are a bit crap, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. And then we have the first big Macross kit. This thing, the RVF-25 Messiah. Way too many decals, especially way too many decals need to be placed on curved surfaces, which decals really don't like doing. And then the actual kit itself did not want to stay together, which made things even worse. I'm not super happy with how this one turned out, so it's been sort of banished to the back of a shelf somewhere. I don't plan on getting another one because honestly this one kind of sucked to put together. Unfortunate, but that's just how it is sometimes. This one, however, I actually have right next to me. It's the closest kit to me as I'm sitting at my desk. The Providence Gundam. This was another fun one. I have thought about going back and getting some proper decals, but for the most part, I'm happy with it. It turned out pretty nicely. It's a really interesting, really neat little kit that, you know, I had fun with this one. Although, his Master Sword has made him kind of hard to pose, I'll say that much. And here is probably the only big Macross kit that I'm actually properly happy with. The VF-31J Super Siegfried. I had a lot of fun with this one, for the most part. I'd say it went together pretty well. I used a combination of stickers and decals to make everything work. And I'd say that has definitely helped make this a more enjoyable and more aesthetically pleasing build once it was finally done. I haven't had any problems with decals trying to slide off or whatever. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. I don't think I'll need to... I don't feel the need to come back and do it again, if that's what you're wondering. And then we're moving into the Armored Core kits. I bought a few Armored Core kits as I started playing through Armored Core 6. I didn't record any footage for that, but I did play quite a bit of AC6 and had a very good time. So this is the first of my 2 White Glint kits. So this is another one coming quite a bit later. This one's not entirely accurate to how it looks in the game. I ended up just picking some whatever colors of parts I wanted because they allow you to change out some of the colors. I'm still pretty reasonably happy with this. The stand's a bit crap, but it is what it is. But for the most part, fun enough build. I enjoyed it. And then there's this little guy, the VF1 Valkyrie. This is Roy Folks, I think that's his name. I have to check again, but this is his VF1 Valkyrie with a, what is it, Jolly Roger sort of styling. Because the VF1's basically a space Tomcat with, and the Jolly Rogers are probably the most famous of that Tomcat squadron out there, but they're famous. Skull and Crossbones little icon. Regardless, this one went together pretty well. Unfortunately, I allowed to get dusty before I top coated it, so now there's just a bunch of dust still on top of it. I may go back and fix it or get a new one at some point, but for now, I'm not too torn up about it. It is what it is. And we continue with the Armored Core stuff with I think this is the Rosenthal. I'd have to check the full name, but this one's another one that was alright enough. I had enough fun putting it together. I'm not a super huge fan of the Armored Core kits in hindsight. They're kind of whatever. They can feel kind of bland. But this is one of the better ones. And this one, kind of the same thing. It was fine to put together, but I'm not super thrilled with it. And this is when I started getting into third-party kits, or weird other stuff. This is a Trailblazer from, I think, Iron Era Plus, something like that. This one I'm not super happy with, mainly because of the decals. What I remember, they were extremely sticky, they stuck to everything, and you basically had to slather the area in with a decal solution to get them to behave properly. I ended up just completely destroying one of the decals for this thing, which kind of sucked, and that one thing kind of annoyed me for a while, which is why this guy's sort of sitting in the back of a shelf somewhere, because he gives me bad memories. This guy, on the other hand, this guy went pretty well. This is the Genesis. It came together extremely well. I still have it out on a shelf somewhere. Yeah, he was a lot of fun. He also had some metal parts, of all things. This is my first time dealing with proper metal parts. Those were a bit less fun, let's say. But yeah, I really like how this guy turned out, and I like how it looks too. It looks very cool. And so my final Ion Era Plus kit is the Type 1 Battle Machine Ruling. This is the first kit I bought with a fully completed inner frame. I haven't bought too many of those, but this is my first. Which means he is very heavy. I'm kind of surprised that stand of his is still holding him up. But yeah, he was pretty cool. He was a lot of fun. And came out great. He looks great. And the decals, they're a bit annoying to get on, but they've been very resilient. I haven't had to top coat them to prevent the decals from just destroying themselves. So, hey, what do you know? Alright, and next up we have my first Metal Gear kit. This is the Metal Gear Rex Black version. I got this one basically because, one, I like Metal Gear, and two, I thought the black version was cooler, and I didn't want to paint the original because it had some sort of camo thing on it, and I was like, don't really feel like it, so why not? Let's get the black version. This one I'm pretty happy with. For the most part, it came together fairly easily. It wasn't really make my life miserable in any way. But yeah, pretty cool kit. And then we have a kit I really like. Very, very happy with this one. The Master Grade Gundam Epion. When I found out about this one again, sort of after I'd built the Railgun, I was like, of course, I have to get the Epion. It's one of my favorite mobile suits. Pretty happy with this one. Again, I guess I could go back and do panel lining, but this one's a kit that because there's very little weight on it, panel lining's not a huge deal. So, for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it, how it turned out. I wish I got some different decals, because these ones were kind of but for the most part, I am pretty happy with how this one turned out. And then we got the Double Zeta Verka. Yes, this was another really, really good one to put together. I am going to try and get the Full Armor Zeta, Double Zeta at some point, but for now, this will have to do, and it's a great kit. Again, kind of wish I panel lined it, but it was a lot of fun to build. It has, I guess, the one sort of weird thing about it is it has a bunch of parts to transform into the Mobile Fortress, if that's what it's called. I can't remember the exact name, but for the most part, this guy was pretty cooperative. Again, we're dealing with Bandai decals, so probably should have replaced those, but it's a year ago, so at this point, who really cares? And then this starts my obsession with the Astray Gundams. This is the Gold Frame Astray Amatsu Hana, I believe. I always get those two confused, but yeah, this is the real grade Amatsu Hana, I'm pretty sure. This one is one I'm actually not super happy with, mainly because of the stickers. I do not like using stickers, and this one has some pretty bad ones, so eventually you'll see me replace this with a 1x100 version, but we're not there yet. And this is the last of the big Macross kits that I would do. This is the SV262 Draken, plus his two Lily Dragons. I wish this kit came with stickers, because there are some really big color-correcting decals, effectively, that it comes with that really do not want to stay on, no matter how much decal softener and top coat you hit them with. And it kind of just made me... It was not a good time. Let's just say that this kit is currently sitting in the back of a shelf somewhere, which is sort of where I put all the kits that I'm just not really happy with. And that's sort of my problem with a lot of these Macross kits. They have way too many decals, and the decals just kind of suck. And also, they're kind of a pain to put together. They look cool, I really like them, but yeah, there's a reason I don't build them anymore. And then, this kit, I actually got at Hobby Lobby, of all places. I saw these little entry kits, and I was like, I don't know, I guess I'll build one, why not, just to see what it's like. So I picked out the RX-78-2, the original, just because I figured every collection needed at least one RX-78, and there's pretty much nothing to say about it. It's a tiny kit. It took me less than an hour to build. If I were just building it on my own and not just speedrunning as fast as possible, I could probably do it in half an hour, if that. It's kind of what you see is what you get. It's a really simple, really basic kit. It's surprisingly detailed and articulated for how tiny and just cheap it is, but it's not exactly, it's no master grade, let's say that much. And then this guy, Metal Gear Ray, oh boy. Kind of a pain to put together, kind of a pain to pose, and very much a pain to detail because of all those blue patterns on it. I don't know what you call them, but this one, I am happy with the result for the most part, but man, some mechs were just not designed to be turned into model kits, and this is definitely one of them. This was a pain in the ass to put together. The legs especially they're way too thin, obviously. This thing really needed to, like, some sort of stand that connects into the base, but I guess or like the crotch area, I guess you'd say. But it just didn't get it for whatever reason, and I don't understand why. Who knows, man? Who knows what they were thinking with that? Still, it's a cool kit. So I guess if you're willing to put up with the pain, there you go. And another kit that I am not super pleased with, the XMX1 Full Cloth Crossbone Gundam. He looks cool. He's not super well designed. This is an older master grade, and you can kind of tell there's a lot of parts that just do not want to stay on. And I ended up sort of jerry-rigging this stand to kind of hold him up. He's also kind of in the back of a shelf somewhere. Again, stickers, bleh. I'm planning on doing another Crossbone Gundam at some point. I think I'd like to do the X2 Kai, is that what it's called? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But for now, this is my only Crossbone Gundam. And while, again, he does look cool, kit's not the greatest, so it is what it is. And then this is, I think, my last Macross kit. This is the YF21, also from Macross Plus, I believe. Pretty basic little high-grade kit. There's not that much to say about it. It's pretty similar to the YF19 that I built from earlier. So, there you go. And another kit I got from Hobby Lobby, the Gundam Helios. Yeah, this was another kit. I think this is my first kit from Build Fighters, or Build whatever. I don't know. Build is all just one big universe of weird hybrid mashup Gundams to me. This one is based off of the X, then it's double X, sorry. But it's a cool little build. There's not, again, it's a high grade, so there's not really that much to say about it. Yeah, that's kind of it. Oh, and then there's this, the Phantom Battleship Yamato. So this is a boss from Phantasy Star Online 2 that I came across the kit on eBay one day, and I was like, hey, I want to do that. And yeah, it's definitely a very strange kit. There's a ton, and I mean a ton, of little decals that have to go on it to represent the illusion effect. It's something from the game. I don't want to explain the whole Phantasy Star lore right now, but the short version is that this thing is basically made out of energy. It's not a real battleship. This one just, for whatever reason, I just took so long to finish this because there's so many tiny parts that have to be glued on. I'd like to get to shipbuilding properly at some point, someday, but, you know, for now, this is most of what I can do. It's definitely an interesting build, but not one that I'd ever willingly do again. Let's just say that much. Way too many tiny parts I needed gluing down. Hulls drilled, which was kind of sucked for me because I didn't have a drill at the time. And just way too many decals that did not want to stay down. So, this one's gonna be a one and done for me. And then we're on to another Verka kit. This is the Sinanju Stein, regular, then we'll see the narrative later. This is another one where it's mostly just down to crappy Bandai decals making my life miserable, and also the right arm really did not want to hold that gun. Eventually I just got sick of it falling off all the time and replaced it with a beam saber, so the one in my room right now is to play with a beam saber. I really don't like a lot of the posable hands, and this kit definitely has some pretty bad ones. The static hands they're just so much easier to work with, and they don't try and just fall apart all the time, which is a problem I've had with a lot of posable hands, which is why, for the most part, I've just stopped using them because it's just so much of a pain in the ass to try and work with them. But yeah, it's a cool kit. I really enjoyed building it, and I think I'll have more to say with the other Sinanju Stein kit that I got a bit later on. And now we move into my first of my two kits from Zone of the Enders, which is, well, technically Zone of the Enders 2, I guess they were both Zone of the Enders, the original. But yeah, this is Anubis from, well, Zone of the Enders. Pretty fun little kit that I had just sort of lying around. Well, actually, no, I didn't have it lying around. I ordered it, and it took 2 months to get here, so I guess it was lying around at a container ship. But yeah, Zone of the Enders has some really cool, really interesting mecha design, and for once, Kotobukiya came through, and this kit didn't suck to build. It's pretty sturdy, and I also really like the wire tail they give you, because in the game menu it has this really long whip-like tail that's constantly moving around whenever you're standing. So I'm pretty happy with how I was able to pose that. I think it turned out really well. And obviously, I really like his, I forget what those are called, vector traps, I think they're called. I forget. I haven't replayed Zone of the Enders in a very long time, but it's a pretty cool kit, and he came together pretty well. I will say that I'm kind of disappointed there's not more detail. Kotobukiya has this weird thing where their kits are meant to be slightly painted, which I've never been a fan of. I am terrible at painting. Let's just get that out of the way right now. I suck at painting. I do kind of wish I went ahead and panel lined him at some point, but I'm pretty happy with him for the most part. And then we got this guy, the Aegis Gundam. Aegis Gundam. This is a really strange kit, and he doesn't look like it, but it's built in just a weird way, and it's difficult to describe exactly how without actually doing it yourself. The short version is that the chests and the shoulders, and I think the legs as well, are just, they have to come together in a very particular way, otherwise they just won't click together properly, which makes this guy kind of a pain in the ass to put together, which is, it's hard to explain without actually just showing you, which the kit's built already, so I can't exactly do that. So I guess if you want to know more, go watch the video. That'll explain a lot more about how this kit came together. But yeah, I mean, this is also, I think, the first kit that I actually got some Delphi decals. Delphi, excuse me. I just recently learned that Delphi decals is actually Delphi decals, which I've been saying wrong for like 2 years now for whatever reason. I don't know how I got into my head. I guess my brain just auto-completed it for a year and a half or whatever. But yeah, this is the first time I was using Delphi to do get some better decals than the crappy Bandai stickers. And I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. You know, this one looks pretty good. I'm happy with the result. This one I am not happy with, and you'll see why. And it's mostly just because stickers and dry apply decals. I just hate those things, so eventually I ended up getting a new Wing Gundam. The kit itself, pretty nice. It came together really well and looks great. I mean, the main problem is the stickers and decal and dry apply decal just absolutely ruined this thing for me, which is why it's sitting at the back of a shelf somewhere. But yeah, obviously, later on you'll see me replace this with a newer kit. And this is when I started getting into even more third-party decals. This is my 1x100 scale gold frame Gundam Astray gold frame Amatsu Mina. Or this one, or maybe it's this one, the Hana. I forget. I can't be bothered to look it up. This is the first kit I bought from Daban, which you'll be seeing quite a bit more of. And it's a really interesting kit because it's not built like a lot of the other Gundam Astrays. A lot of them are built pretty similarly, and I would know. I've built a ton of them, which you will be seeing. And this one also came with paint parts that were already partially painted, which is a first for me. So I think those sort of black parts on the wings are already painted. Maybe there's a couple other parts that are also partially painted. Oh yeah, the shoulder armor on the left shoulder, our right, his left, are also partially painted. And the one part that I really didn't like about this was the fact that the decals don't have there's no decal guide, so I just sort of had to stare at blurry, low-resolution images on some website and to finally figure out how it's supposed to go together. But for the actual kit does look really cool, and I just love the Gundam Astray gold frames. And they're sort of in this versions of them with their sort of big hook wings and the sort of cowboy hat look. They're really cool, which is why I have I think 3 of them in this version. And then I mentioned it earlier, this is the Gundam Double X. So this is my only kit from Gundam X, but honestly, I think this and the X are the only ones you really need from Gundam X. The other ones are kind of whatever. But yeah, this is a kit that I'm looking at replacing at some point, mainly because no panel lighting, and also the decals I got are kind of crappy. They're not like horrible, but I wish I got some different ones. But the kit itself is really cool, and I really like the So the way they did the wings is that there's actually a thin sort of sheet of, I don't know what it is, some sort of plastic or something inside those wings that's reflective, and then there's the actual yellow sort of satellite parts are, I guess there's a texture to them that's like hexagonal, I think, and that allows them to kind of sparkle in the light, which kind of can't really see here, but in real life it does look very cool. So I do appreciate that. And I mean, obviously it's a really well-designed mecha, I really like it, but again, I think there's a Debon version that's really nice that I'm trying to get at some point in the future. And then we have the Avalanche Exio, so I'm delving into Gundam 00 now. This is another kit that I'm pretty happy with. If I guess I had to do it again, I'd probably go back and grab some panel lighting, but for the most part, I am pretty happy with how this one turned out. It's a strange kit, because obviously you build the Exio and then you build all the stuff that goes on top of it. This is also my first time dealing with those, I don't know what they're called, the holographic parts, those weird rubbery bits that have to go on it. But, and I also bought, I think this is the first time dealing with Gundam Rework or G Rework decals, which don't always line up with the decal guide, so there was a lot of guesswork, let's say. And so that took way longer than I wanted to. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. You know, nothing went horribly wrong. I didn't have to, like, glue crap back together or anything. So I'm pretty happy with this one. I think it turned out well. This guy, oh boy, this is the Snow White Prelude, Wing Gundam Snow White Prelude. This is my second Debon kit, and quite the undertaking, let me tell you. So this guy was a bit of a pain to get together. All the parts sometimes alright, sometimes not. And again, he just has a million decals, and also no decal guide, but fortunately, I was able to find one on YouTube, of all places, and I don't know where he found the decal guide, but it must exist somewhere, because his was pretty accurate, and I was able to do all the decals fairly easily, and honestly, I am still pretty happy with this one. There is a new version out that I am considering getting, because there's actually a Wing Gundam lighting kit that I bought maybe I'll use, but for now, this is good enough for me, and I've already built too many Wing Gundams as it is, so for now. I also do understand why Bandai doesn't release an official version, although I think they actually just did, because there's just, you can see those two little stands at the back there designed to hold up his cannons. I forget what they're called. They have some name, but regardless, cool kit, but kind of a pain to put together. And then the kit that was not a pain to put together, this is the Zeta Gundam Verka. Really nice kit to put together, really fun build, and weirdly enough, when I forgot I was getting Delpi decals for some other kit, and they sent me a gift with purchase, which was the decals for the Zeta Gundam Verka. And it was just a total coincidence that at the time I happened to be building a Zeta Gundam Verka, so I was like, alright, I guess I have to do these now. So his decals are actually holographic, because I just happened to get sent something at the same time. Knowing what I know now, I absolutely would have bought some Delpi decals, because I know how bad the Bandai ones are, but, you know, cool coincidence, and it worked out great for me, and honestly, I'm really glad that it did work out that way, because holy crap, Bandai decals are so bad. And then there's this guy, oh boy, Wing Gundam Zero, Verka. I made quite a few mistakes with this kit, so many that I'm genuinely considering just getting a new one and starting again. The main one is I use the Bandai decals, and they just suck. They've not wanted to stay in place. They're constantly trying to fall off, no matter what I do. And the other mistake I made was getting the photo etch parts set, which, while it did look pretty decent in the end, let's just say that photo etch parts were not meant to go on surfaces that curve in more than one direction. That's all I'll say about that. Well, no, it's wrong, because inside of all those wings are just a million photo etch parts that took an insane amount of effort to get into place. I was up almost the entire night smashing these parts into those wings with and using just a ton of super glue and plastic cement and whatever else I could think of to try and get these parts to fit properly, and they just... Oh man, it was a mess. It was just a huge, ugly mess, and I'm glad it's done. Cool kit. I really like the Wing Gundam Zero, obviously, but man, if I had to do this one again, I would make many, many different decisions than the one I made initially. So, maybe a kit for the rebuild pile, but for now, I'm reasonably happy with how it turned out. This kit, on the other hand, this kit was a blast to build. The Reborn 100 Nightingale. This is I think my first, like, really properly super big kit, and, like, it was a lot of fun. Like, I had just a blast putting this together. I got a really nice decal set. Again, thank you, Delphi. And just spent the next day just having fun decorating this thing. And honestly, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's great. It looks great on the shelf. The one bad part is that the gun doesn't really want to sit properly in the hand, so it's going to have to rest awkwardly on the table. But everything else, I had a great time building it and decorating it, and honestly, 10 out of 10 would built again. And I may actually be doing that, sort of, in the near future, so stay tuned. And then we got, I think this is the last Wing Gundam from Wing Gundam that I'm building. This is the Wing Gundam Proto Zero, or technically it's just Wing Zero, but from the TV show, because they redesigned it for Endless Waltz. Why? Who knows, but they did. Regardless, this is another one. This one was pretty alright to build. There wasn't anything annoying or obnoxious about it. I got some new decals from Delphi, and honestly, this one was a pretty straightforward, easy build. I do really like the colors on this one. I think they look a lot better than a lot of the other. I think I don't know. I just like the colors. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but yeah, this one was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Nothing really much to say about it. Alright, and then we have these two, the Zai Gundam and the Penelope. So I went out to eBay and tracked down the Zai Gundam vs. Penelope high-grade set that came out with the first Gundam Hathaway movie, and also, conveniently, came with a set of decals. Unfortunately, it was the G rework set, which meant I spent way, way too long staring at pictures on the internet of these things properly decaled, and it just took forever. Like, good lord, that was not a fun, I think 3 days it took me to do all this, maybe even 4, I don't remember. Regardless, I am still reasonably happy with how these turned out. I really like the funnel missiles effects, or whatever they're called. I really do like that. It gives them a sort of presence, I guess you'd say. It sort of fills out the kits really nicely. I am planning on doing a new version of these. I actually have a new version of the Zai Gundam. I have the Mechanicore set, which I'll be building probably early next year, so you won't see it for probably another month or so. We'll see. And I'm planning on getting the Penelope as well, but not for right. But that'll be sometime in the future, because it gets really expensive. So now we have my very first high-resolution model, or high RM kit, the Red Frame Stray Powered Red. I really just got this because, one, it looked cool, and two, I saw it at a local model shop, and I was like, I kind of want this one. And then I got it, and I realized it didn't come with water slide decals, so I had to have it sitting around in my room for like almost a month, I want to say. It was a long time before I finally got the decals for it and got it finished. But yeah, this is one I'm still pretty happy with. It's got really nice detail. I'm really happy with how the decals turned out. It looks really clean, really nice. And I'm just kind of happy with it. You know, it's a bit of a weird model, especially most of the body is just, you know, a regular Gundam Stray red frame, but minus there's no inner frame, obviously, because this is all kind of the inner frame pre-built. But the arms are kind of a weird construction. It's kind of hard to explain, but I guess if you really want to know more, you can just watch the video of me building it. But yeah, really nice little model, although way too expensive for most builders. Like, unless you're absolutely desperate, I think there's like a conversion kit you can get for a regular master grade red frame that's pretty cheap, so probably just go with that. But you know, it is what it is. And then, of course, I'm trying to build one of every single, whatchamacallit, grade type, so I grabbed this Full Mechanics Calamity Gundam. It's an alright kit, I'd say. It's kind of got an interesting color scheme, which is like probably half the reason I picked it. The design itself is kind of whatever, but it's a cool color scheme. It's a pretty solid little kit. There's not really that much to say about it. It's a pretty simple construction because obviously full mechanics, pretty easy to build. And then we got my next, and currently last, Zone of the Enders kit, Jehudi, the counterpart to Anubis. There is actually a kit out there for the Zero Shift version of him. I think that's what it's called. But this one's pretty similar to Anubis for the most part. It's a bit smaller, obviously, because it don't have the massive vector traps on the back, but still pretty fun, pretty light, easy build. I think I built this in like a day. It did not take me that long to finish this guy up. And then we have this guy, the Gundam Astray Blue Frame D. This is another one I saw in a shop and wanted to go ahead and pick up. Him and his 3 gazillion swords. Yeah, I think the part that took me the longest was figuring out how I wanted to do all the swords. I ended up just going with 2 daggers and sheathing all the rest around him. This is another one that I had a lot of fun building, although it did kind of start a trend of me building a gazillion various Astray Gundams, which we'll see. Well, I guess that was already a trend, but this only added to it. Again, pretty fun build, built kind of like the rest of the Astray, so there's not that much to say. I will say that the backpack is definitely, I guess it's not that unique because there's a pretty similar one for a couple of the red frames, but looks cool. It's a good kit. I recommend, especially because it comes with its own stand. Another one that comes with its own stand is this guy, the Gundam Wing Finis Renascita, I think that's how you say it. I picked this one, again, mostly for the colors. It's got a really distinct color scheme with the green, the yellow, and the pink shoulders, I guess you want to say. It also is more looks closer to the original Wing Gundam. I think not the one from Endless Waltz, the redesign. I forget what it's called, but the original. I'm pretty happy with this one. It's definitely, again, I mostly got it because it looks cool and I like the Wing Gundams, so why not? And then this guy, which was very popular with you guys for some reason. I don't understand that quite, but okay. This is the Eclipse Gundam from Gundam Seed, or at least one of the Gundam Seed shows. And also the backpack, which I spent quite a while tracking down, the Maneuver Striker backpack that goes with this. You can also get, I think it's like some sort of cannon backpack you can also get, but I didn't because I didn't feel like it. So I just have the regular old Eclipse Gundam with, well, not regular old because he's got the backpack. This was a very strange build. The kit is very weird. It's got absolutely tiny feet, which I can't remember if this comes with a stand or not. It should, because there's no way in hell you get this thing to stand up on its own. And it comes with these very weird sort of gun-sword hybrid, like the sword sheathes into the guns, which I'm not quite sure I understand. I ended up going with his little, I don't know what they're called, like weird gauntlet thingies. That's what I ended up going with. I don't know. I think it looks fine. And you can also, there's also slots on his shoulders for, I think you can use some of the other Seed weapons. I don't have any, so there's just a couple of holes on his shoulder. Whatever. It's a pretty cool looking kit, although it is very weird, and just kind of, it's kind of hard to explain without having to build it yourself, but it's just a bizarre kit. And another kind of weird one is the Typhoeus Gundam Chimera. Now this image isn't the best quality, but it's what I got, so I'm gonna have to deal. This is sort of 2 kits in one. It's got the Typhoeus Gundam and then the Chimera exoskeleton, which is actually sort of 2 other kits. It's got the arms of the Psycho Gundam, and part of it's the long distance transporter, which you'll be seeing a bit later on. It's sort of combined into one sort of weird hybrid thingy exoskeleton, I want to say. It's just the Gundam build series just comes up with some absolutely bizarre designs that I just will not even pretend to understand what their thought process is on that. It's a pretty cool kit, pretty fun, pretty easy build, but man is it kind of strange. And then this guy, oh boy, the 00XN Razor, the man with the biggest backpack on the planet. This is another kit that I wanted for a while, and while he is cool, good lord, he has the biggest backpack in the world. Like, if I was doing this today, I think it would take me ages to panel line and do all the stuff for that. So he cannot stand up on his own without that there's a little peg, you can see it kind of right behind his left leg that sort of holds him up and keeps him from just slumping over on his backpack. There's also some LEDs that you can get with this, although something I really dislike about a lot of the 00 kits that come with LED package is that you have to remove stuff to access the LED, then put stuff back in, which makes it kind of obnoxious to actually turn them on. This is why I probably won't be doing it in the future or getting LEDs to go with them, because it's just a pain in the butt to try and do all that stuff. But I do still really like this kit for the most part. It's a pretty interesting build. It's got, obviously the backpack's kind of ridiculous, but I do like a lot of the weapons, like the big sort of GN sword you can see with the big red pieces on them. And the backpack, it is pretty cool. There's a whole bunch of stuff on it, like swords, and I think there's a couple of ships on there as well. But it's a cool kit. It's just, I think that it could use a redesign in terms of the stand, especially because, good lord, that one little peg is kind of a little dinky. I haven't actually had any problems with it, surprisingly enough, but whenever I look at it, I get a little bit nervous. Like, is this guy just gonna collapse out and just drop onto my floor and explode into a million parts someday? I hope not, but hey, you never know. And then this guy, this is my first Kshatriya. This is the high-grade Kshatriya. This is another, I was sort of going through a phase of building a lot of big high grades, so you'll see a bunch of them as sort of the series progresses. I ended up grabbing a decal set for him from Delpi Decals, which definitely does sort of help him a lot because he's got a lot of big empty spaces, which is a problem for a lot of sort of, partly for some of the Reborn 100 kits, and definitely for a lot of the bigger high grades. They just kind of look empty, I guess you'd say. But this one definitely did help a lot with sort of livening up some of the empty space. Unfortunately, there's only really a guide for the big wing areas, so I sort of just did what I do a lot of the time, just made something up, which, I don't know, it turned out pretty well, all things considered. So I am pretty happy with this kit, although you will be seeing a much more detailed version of the Kshatriya a bit later on. But yeah, pretty fun kit, pretty simple builds. So, if you're looking for a quick, easy, just have some fun little kit, great option. This guy, oh boy. So, one of my friends, an acquaintance of mine, was big into the 5-star stories, which I was familiar with a little bit, but I was kind of interested in some of the mecha designs, and I found a company that was selling 5-star stories kits, and I was like, this looks kind of interesting. Let me buy a kit from them, let me see how it is. Good lord, it was just the worst thing ever. So this is a glue together kit, meaning a lot of parts have to be glued together with, either super glue or plastic cement. And this guy was just not designed to be built properly. Like, it took me ages and ages to get him properly set up. Parts just didn't want to stick together, parts didn't want to fit together. I had to glue his arm on because it didn't want to stay in. Parts were just not fitting properly. Eventually I had to just glue him to this stand that I have set up because he wouldn't stand up on his own. And man, he was just a giant, never-ending mess of parts that just did not want to work together. Supposedly, there's another company called Wave, which makes really nice 5-star storage kits. So maybe someday soon, Scorpier will return to the world of the 5-star stories, but for now, this is all I'm willing to do. Never again, not unless someone's paying me a lot of money. And even then, it might have to be quite a lot before I mess with any of these kits again. This kit, on the other hand, I actually built on Christmas Day, funny enough. I got it on Christmas and built it the same day. This is the Perfect Strike Gundam, little high-grade kit. Had a lot of fun with this one. It was nice and simple, relatively painless. Well, actually, completely painless. I just snapped this guy together in a couple hours and called it a day. Currently still sitting up on my shelf. Really nice little kit. not much to say about it. It's a pretty basic high grade for the most part. I mean, I guess the sword gun combo is a bit weird, but for the most part, pretty much just a standard high grade. This is my Infinite Justice Gundam. You will see another Infinite Justice in a few moments. Well, not a few moments, but in a bit. This kit I built all in one day, got it all decaled and built in a single day, which I guess if you want to submit Gundam, I don't know if Gundam speed runs are a thing, but I think I think I would have maybe gotten some award for it, but regardless, other pretty basic or pretty straightforward master grade. The only kind of interesting thing is sort of the way the backpack functions, where you can swing the wings together so they'll move as one unit, which is kind of interesting, I guess, but not that interesting. Other than that, for the most part, it's a pretty basic, straightforward high grade build. So I don't really have that much to say about it. It's master grade. Did I say high grade? I meant master grade. It's a pretty straightforward master grade. I mean, kind of what you see is what you get. And this kit is the Destiny Gundam Extreme Blast Mode, which basically just means it's the Destiny Gundam, but we threw a bunch of extras in, and also he's got crazy effect wings. This is a bit of an older kit, surprisingly, so the parts fit wasn't amazing. That's sort of the one thing I noticed on this kit, that the fits weren't as tight or as neat as some of the other Bandai kits. Although, I will say the two things that I really like about this kit are, one, the custom stand looks really nice, and two, the effect wings, although I did end up replacing them with some custom parts, but the effect wings are really good. It also comes with a couple of effect parts, so you can see his hands like firing a blast. I kind of wish they were colored, because the clears just kind of looks like there should be an LED glowing through them, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm still pretty happy with this guy. Obviously, the wings are definitely the draw for this, and they also got some custom decals, which really help sort of, I guess, give some extra detail to those wing parts, so that it ends up looking really, really nice. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. And then this guy, oh boy, this is another rough one. This is the Dragon Momoko Death Size Gundam, regular, not the Endless Waltz. We'll see that a bit later. This kit, man, bad tolerances. That's really the main killer for this kit. It was just a ton of parts that were way, way too tight, and it just resulted in a lot of finger-destroying sort of me standing up and trying to press these stupid parts together. A bunch ended up breaking, which I ended up having to slather a bunch of parts in super glue to get them to stick properly. And of course, there was no decal guide, so I just ended up making some stuff up, and I don't know, man, this one was just kind of it was definitely a bit of a pain. I kind of wish I had gotten a different Death Scythe kit, but, you know, it is what it is. It's on my shelf. It does at least look pretty cool, so at least it does came out looking pretty nicely, even if the effort to get there was just a massive pain in the butt. So, I don't know. I've heard Dragon Momoko is supposed to be pretty good for third-party kits, but I don't know, maybe I just got a bad kit. Who knows? Who knows? This kit was not bad, though. This kit was a lot of fun. This is the new Gundam Verka with the, I think it's called, the Rage Nucleon backpack that you could sew. This was another really fun, really relaxing build for the most part. And obviously, I kind of do wish I had done the energy stuff. I think there's like some sort of system where you could expose some of his parts to view all the energy stuff inside of him, but I didn't end up doing that. I've thought about going back and doing that, but I'm pretty happy with this kit for the most part. Really cool stand too. I like the Amuro logo on it, and the backpack I think really helped with this kit a lot, because I guess I just wasn't a huge fan of the regular sort of just, hey, we're just gonna stick a bunch of these fin funnels on the back of them and call it a day. I really do prefer the backpack that the Rage Nucleon set provides. It also provides like some parts to go under the feet for whatever reason. I'm not really sure what that's about, but hey, I'll stick them down there. I think they look kind of cool, so whatever, I'm keeping it. I also know there's an expansion set you can get as well, but I wasn't super happy with how I made it look. I thought it looked a bit too weird and boxy, so I didn't end up going with that. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one for the most part. Probably not going to build another one anytime soon. Well, unless I can get my hands on the perfect grade Unleashed version, which we'll see about that, but for now, I'm happy. And speaking of perfect grades, this was my first one. This is the perfect grade Gundam Banshee Norn, Unicorn Banshee Norn. Yeah, this was definitely quite the project. It took me, I think, 8 or 9 days in that range. I do kind of wish, the one thing I kind of wish is that I got the lighting kit for it, but I am still really happy with this kit. Man, perfect grades are... It's kind of weird building perfect grades because the parts are just so big, especially if you've built the smaller versions. I hadn't before with this one, but I have built other perfect grades that are very large, and you just, after building high grades and master grades for so long, just the huge parts just, it kind of throws you off for a bit. It's a weird feeling, I don't know. It's kind of like, whoa, this thing's so big. It's that sort of that feeling you get. But yeah, this one was a lot of fun, and it actually went together pretty much no problems. I don't think I had any huge issues with this kit. It kind of just went together pretty easily. I've had that experience with most of my perfect grades. For the most part, they've been pretty good. Even the older one I built, which you'll be seeing in a few minutes, I haven't had any huge problems with them, which is pretty nice. This kit is another Devon kit. I ended up seeing this on the New Type website a long time ago, and I was like, wow, that thing looks super cool, I want it. And of course, it was out of stock. So I ended up getting the third-party version, which, I don't know, hate me if you want. I think it still looks cool. This is the Rizel Defensor A+B unit. I ended up going with sort of a weird hybrid unit where I had all the missiles, and I got the cannons to stick on there as well, so it's not 100% lore accurate, but I don't know, I just did it to make it look cool, and I think it looks cool. Kind of similar to the XN Razor, actually. It's got this weird, if you look between the legs, it's got that weird little post that sort of holds it up. I'm not sure why they went with that instead of just some sort of other stand, but who knows? Who knows? Point is, it stands up fine. I've hadn't had any issues with it trying to topple over, and it does look really cool, and I needed something that wasn't a Gundam. I have a lot of Gundams, I don't have a lot of non-Gundams. I'm kind of a bit conscious about that because I want to have some more, like, Gundam stuff that is from the Gundam franchise that's not a Gundam itself, and this is like one of the very few things I have, so I was looking at getting some more, but I don't know, I haven't found any that I really like recently, so we'll see how that goes. And then we have this guy, the Ainta Industries Sky Defender, which it took me an frankly embarrassing amount of time to realize this was supposed to be kind of a bootleg Hi-Nu Gundam. It's it's mostly the color scheme and sort of the wings, because it actually doesn't look too much like a Hi-Nu, but it kinda is, but kinda not. I don't know, it's kinda hard to tell unless you're really looking for it. But yeah, this was a really big, really detailed kit. It cost a ton of money. I think this was the most expensive kit I actually bought myself at the time. I think the Banshee Noir was actually more expensive, but this is the most I spent on a kit myself. Really cool kit, actually. Really fun to build for the most part. There was like some weirdness with the chest where I had to there was some part of like the chest that I just did not want to go in. I ended up using a clamp of all things to get it to go in, but regardless, still really fun kit. Went together pretty easily for the most part. Had a lot of fun building it. I mean, I hope they make something else in the future, but for now this is all there is, so you know, whatever. And now, time for redemption. This is obviously another master grade Freedom Gundam. So I got this one from a third-party seller, but I also managed to actually use their custom decals for it. So this one looks quite a bit better than the original, and also has all its decals, because the other one didn't, because I just screwed up. I think I mentioned that before, but for the most part, I'm a lot more happier with this one. It's a lot better put together. It's obviously got the decals, and it's not, you know, some guy's literally second ever Gundam kit. So, again, pretty happy with this one. Now this one, oh boy, this is another third-party kit. This is the Victory Gundam Assault, Victory 2 Gundam Assault Buster version. Victory 2 Assault Buster Gundam, I think that's what it's called. So this is a Victory Gundam with a whole bunch of extra parts slapped all over it. So they have parts over the sort of the crotch area, the knees. They've got some, I think, on the shoulders as well. And man, this is a really kit that just goes together in just the weirdest ways. It's one of those kits where the chest is made up of a core fighter, which I always really dislike those because they always go together in such an awkward, bad way. I kind of wish people would just give you a way to build either the chest or the core fighter and just keep them separate, but for whatever reason, people really seem to like having the ability to fold things up, which, I don't know, for this kit, it was just a massive pain in the butt to try and get that to work properly. So, that was definitely no fun. But it does look pretty cool, I'll give it that, even if it was just a massive pain. And it had so many decals, like, it was like over I think it was like 400 decals that went on this thing, close to that. It was a lot. And it just took so long to get everything to go together properly. Admittedly, this one does look pretty cool, but man, this was definitely quite the slog to get the thing to go together. Another kit that took way too long to put together is this guy, the Unicorn Gundam, Full Armor Unicorn Gundam Verka. Good lord. This guy took forever, and it was mostly because he's just got a regular Unicorn Gundam with 2 shields, a bazillion Vulcans, there's rocket stuff everywhere, there's obviously his little carrier, he's got guns and spear staff thingies, and like half this kit is just weapons. Like there's the mech itself is like half the kit, and the other half is just all the accessories you gotta put together. Another kit with just way too many decals. Probably not a good idea to follow this immediately after the Assault Buster, but, you know, never said I was good at organizing my decision-making in terms of that respect, but the biggest problem with this guy is he did not want to stand up properly. Like, I had to just... Eventually I just caved and grabbed a spare action base that I had lying around, and that plus sort of there's like 2 little holders that are meant to hold up his little fuel tanks, and that combined sort of held him up together for the most part. I mean, he's still kind of a plastic grenade, but you know, as long as you don't touch him, he seems to stand up just fine, mostly. But man, what a bit of a mess this one. And now another kit that I've already built before, kind of, the White Glint plus VOB, or I think it's Variable Override Booster, I believe that's what it's called, something like that. So this is obviously the same kit as the regular White Glint, with the addition of the booster and a new stand and decals for some reason. The other one didn't come with decals, but this one does. So I'm not entirely sure what that's all about, but okay. The booster is pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting little build. And the other thing I did differently on this one as well is that I tried to match it a lot closer to the one that's in the cinematic at the beginning of Armored Core 4 Answer. So this one's a lot more is closer to the game than the other one. And I think I tried pretty much everything. Every part should be the right color, I believe. But yeah, this one's pretty similar to the other one. Well, actually, it is exactly the same as the other one, just with the booster and some decals. Again, not sure whether there weren't decals in the other one, but there are for this one, so, you know, hey. I'll take what I can get. Another weird little kit, as we're just doing all the weird kits now, is the Hazelanthe 2 Raw, I want to say. I need to check. I probably need to check that, but anyway, this is the first of several Advanced of Zeta kits that I've built. This is definitely one of the largest one by far. And man, what a strange kit. This is technically it's a high grade, but it's got these weird shoulder mounted thingies. It's got just the construction of the chest is super weird. The head's kind of weird as too. And then I ended also getting the booster unit. I forget what it's the exact name, but which came without any instructions, by the way, so I ended up having to look online for that. And I also ended up using a bit of sprue to make him get his like rear sort of Bobby unit on, which you can't really see in this picture, but sort of the rear unit. You have to normally, to get attached the booster to the mech, you have to remove his sort of rear waist piece, but I ended up wanting to keep it on, so I ended up using a piece of sprue and a spare polycap part to remount it to it, which I don't know if it's like the greatest thing, but yeah, I feel like it looks cool. Yeah, very weird kit. I also had to use the G rework decals, which meant a lot of staring at random pictures on the internet or blurry pictures on the internet to try and figure out where all the decals are supposed to go, as well as a lot of just making crap up. You know, the Scorpion special. If I don't know what I'm doing, I'll just make something up. But yeah, I finally got it done, and I'm pretty happy with this for the most part. It's the one thing I'm not happy about is these guns in his hands have these whatchamacallit, color correcting stickers. That's what I'm looking for. That do not really like staying on, which makes them kind of obnoxious because the ends keep trying to peel off. I considered just gluing them down, but honestly I've just been too lazy recently. I'll probably do it eventually, but for now I'm just gonna keep folding them back down. And just as I mentioned, a little later we now have Death Scythe Hell. So this is a nice little master grade that I got. I ended up getting, I forget if it was Delphi that had these decals, but they had some really nice sort of decals that sort of go on the wings that make them really nice. These like skeletons and skulls and Grim Reapers and whatnot on them. It looks really, really cool. I really do like how those turned out. Obviously, really iconic suit with the huge bat wings, and also really small, kind of like a lot of the the Wing Gundams, the suits from Wing Gundam. But honestly, pretty simple kit. I think I built the whole thing in like a couple days and decaled it one more. So you know, not really much to say. It was pretty simple. I've heard this one's supposed to be kind of fragile, but I didn't find that to be the case at all. So I don't know. Either way, I had fun. That's all that really matters. This one, less fun. So this is the Psycho Gundam. The Psycho Zaku. High mobility. I forget the exact name, but this guy, good lord. I made the mistake of using the little tiny peg you can see there under the bottom thruster tube. I think that's whatever it's called. But yeah, this guy is like every problem I have with the Exit Razor, but even worse because he has got just the biggest backpack in the world. And I really should have used the proper stand, but I didn't, and I paid the price. Because, man alive, this guy was not easy to stand up. And I also made the mistake of using the Bandai decals, which of course refused to stay on, so I probably should have grabbed the Delphi ones. I'm not sure why I didn't, but regardless, I mean, it's a cool kit, it looks cool, and I had a lot of fun building it, but man, the decaling and the, getting him to stand up properly was not fun. This guy was, alright, we got another third-party kit. This is the Gundam, another Advanced Zeta kit. This is the Gundam Woundport Psycho Blade Custom, I believe. Famous for his crazy little 6 Seraphim, I guess you'd call it, V-fin. Pretty simple kit for the most part. There was no decals or anything, so I kind of just built this guy and stuck him on a stand. There's not much to say about it, I guess. On this guy, so another kit that I built before, or another Gundam that I built before, the Wing Gundam. This is specifically I think this is the Endless Waltz version, but this is specifically the sort of the high resolution version. Or it's designed to look like it, but you actually have to build the interframe because this is a third-party kit from Debon. This is another one I had a lot of fun with, and it turned out way better than the other one because I didn't use stickers. And surprisingly, not using stickers makes everything a lot better. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. I mean, he does look quite a bit better, and the colors are a lot more vibrant too. That's something else I noticed. The colors on the Roka aren't amazing, but the colors on this one are just really vibrant. They really stands out, which I really like a lot. And this is I guess a failed, I guess you'd say, what you want to call it. Trying to find a new setup to take pictures. This one didn't really work out. I'm probably just gonna have to get like a sheet of white paper at some point and use that as a background, but whatever. This one, we'll chalk it up as a failed experiment. So this is the Lizard from, I think it's Ionera Plus. Same guys who did the Genesis and the Ruling and the Trailblazer. But man, this is a weird build. So it's got a pretty substantial inner frame that took me forever to build up. But what took by far the longest were the machine guns. So there's 4 Vulcans on his back, and they have enormous, like, over 100 links in each of those chains that come out of his back from those guns, which is just, I think those chains alone took me like half an hour to do. Man, there's a lot of them. I mean, he does look really cool. I think he's supposed to be some sort of hybrid of the Sazabi and, I don't know, maybe the Nightingale a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell what they were really basing it off of, but it seems to be Gundam based a little bit, at least a little bit. Maybe the Sazabi and the Sinanju, that's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, I mean, he's a really cool kit. He's got some really cool features and like whatnot, but good lord, the chains could have been done in, or the length could have been done in the belts, I guess. Yeah, the belts. That's what I'm thinking of. The belts could have been done maybe a bit less in an extreme way. Still, cool kit. And this is another weird third-party kit. This is the Titanomachia Grim Reaper, I think that's what it's called. Something like that. I don't know. For whatever reason, I encountered this kit on the internet, and I just had to have it for whatever reason. When I finally ended up building it, I was like, I mean, this is alright, but it's not, like, amazing. It's, like, a fine enough kit, I'd say, but, like, I wouldn't go out of my way to get another one. And it also doesn't stand up very well, which is why I had to bring in Action Base 2 to finally to get him to stand up properly. It's an interesting kit, but, like, I guess, but I mean, my biggest problem with it is that the waist is just, like, the torso is way too thin, which makes the top half kind of wobbly. And again, it doesn't come with a stand, and the legs kind of just want to make him flop over, even with the stand, so structurally not the greatest, but yeah, he looks alright. This guy is definitely based off of the Wing Gundam Snow White Prelude. This is the Oberon. This big golden white guy with these feather stand thingies. I'm not sure what that deal is, but regardless, pretty interesting little kit. Well, I guess not really. It's a pretty standard third-party kit. I mostly got him because he was on sale, and I don't know, I was feeling like building another wing thing at the time, I guess. Regardless, he's a pretty alright kit. I don't really have that much to say about him. His stand's really cool, give him that one. I really like the stand, but that's kind of about it. This guy, alright. This is the closest I'll probably ever get to building something from Turn A Gundam, unless I decide to get the Turn X at some point, which, we'll see. We'll see. But this is the Turn A Gundam Shin, technically from Build Fighters, plus a Moonlight Butterfly wing set, which I'm really glad I grabbed that one, because these guys just look way better with the Moonlight Butterfly wings. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the Turn A Gundams. It's really the mustache that kind of sets me off. I'm not a huge fan of the design overall. I mean, it's kind of unique, but, like, I'm kind of, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but the mustache really just, like, why, dude? Like, you couldn't have, I don't understand that. But the rest of the Gundam is, like, fine, but again, I'm not the biggest Turn A fan. I think a lot of the designs there are pretty weak. I think the Turn A Gundam is more infamous than it is famous, so that's probably the only one I've ever built until if/when I get the Turn X. Which, you know, maybe I'll get one soon, who knows. This one was quite a lot of fun. This is the Gundam Thunderbolt, the full armor Gundam Thunderbolt. Really, really cool design. I mean, it's kind of a RX-78 with a bunch of armor plates and weapons attached, but that weapon's held on surprisingly well. He's surprisingly well built, and comes with, when you use the proper stand, he stands up pretty well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. It looks really cool. He's got a really cool color scheme. I like the bright orange on the shield. It really helps that stand out. I mean, the one thing that was kind of bad about him was just the sheer amount of decals, because good lord, both of the Thunderbolt kits I've gotten have had just a bazillion decals, but this one was pretty fun to build. And this one, oh man, we're back to the huge high grade. So this is the Narrative Gundam Apex, which also had some decals, but there was no guide this time, so I just made up whatever I wanted to. This is a weird kind of kit, because it's kind of... So the Narrative Gundam itself is sort of in the center here, and it's sort of built around him, so he's kind of holding everything together, but not really. Obviously, the main thing with this kit is just the two gigantic cannons that you have to... Literally, they give you these little stands to hold it up because there's so much weight on them. Also, the two sort of massive beams coming out of them. I mean, it's a cool kit. I really like it, but good lord, is it kind of unsteady a bit. I'm not surprised that they haven't tried to build this any other higher size, and I guess I also would have wished to have a decal guide that Delphi would provide you, but hey, can't have everything. But yeah, pretty cool kit. I'm happy I picked it up. And this is another weird one. So this is a really old high grade from way back in the day. It's actually in 1/400 scale, because you can see, I believe one of these is a Zaku and the other one, these little tiny kits in white. One of them is a Zaku and one of them is the GP03 Stamen. But the main guy is the AMX, is the New Zeal. I forget the exact number. I think it's a 002 or 3. I forget which one. But yeah, I was looking to get some mobile armors because I don't have a lot of those. Actually, I don't think I have basically any. Yeah, I guess there's some that are kind of mobile armors, but I wanted something that's a bit more mobile armory. But those are pretty hard to find, and even when you do find them, they're just ridiculously expensive. So I found this guy for a somewhat reasonable price and picked him up, and he's pretty cool. But the main problem is that the build just basically takes no time at all. I think I built the whole thing, everything here, in like a day. So, while it's a cool kit, I do kind of wish there were more and bigger kits like this. But hey, you know, it is what it is. One can dream. And so I had the leftover stand, and so I grabbed this guy, the Uravan Gundam. It's another Build Fighters Gundam, and this is kind of a weird one because there's a bunch of kits that use this sort of core Gundam that you have attached a bunch of armor pieces to, and this is one of them. So you build the main guy, then you build a sort of mobile armor thing, and then you take it apart and reattach all the parts to him, which is kind of interesting, I guess, but it's weird construction. There's a bunch of extra kits you can buy to customize these core Gundams into a bunch of different versions. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of the concept, because I don't think you can actually get just a regular core Gundam, which means that you have to buy other kits or something, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's true, but I'm not 100%. But either way, this was mostly just a quick little, I have a spare high grade stand, I need something to put on it, so here we go. Let's just do this. This kit I did actually go out of my way to buy. This is the Amazing Gundam Strike Freedom, I think is what it's called. So this is actually the basis for a couple kits that I thought about doing customs for, namely the Amazing and the Amazing Strike Freedom Barrett, I think it's called, Amazing something like that. But it's a really sort of interesting take on the regular Strike Freedom with a whole bunch of additional stuff added to it. I mean, other than that, it's a pretty standard Build Fighters high grade, so there's not that much to say about it, but I thought it was nice, and it also comes with this weird little sticker that goes on the shoulder. Not sure what that's about, but a little detail. It's kind of cool. And this is the first and only kit from Iron Blooded Orphans that I have, the Barbados with the long distance transporter, which you may remember actually formed part of the Typhoeus Gundam Chimera, because, again, Build Fighters is weird. The transporter itself went together pretty easily. It does have a lot of color correcting stickers, which sort of is a bit obnoxious trying to get those all smoothed out, but the Barbados itself is... I have sort of been very mixed on the Barbados. I think there are some versions of it that are alright, but others I'm like not too crazy about because it kind of looks too skeletal. And it doesn't have a backpack, which I prefer to get my kits to have backpacks. They just look incomplete without it, I guess you'd say. I don't know. Maybe that's just a me thing, but regardless, this was a pretty mostly fun build. Barbados is a bit finicky, especially at this scale. There's just a ton of really tiny parts that don't go together super easily, but for the most part, I had fun with it. And here's the other Woundwort I got. Is it Wandwort or the Wound? I can't remember. One's Wandwort, one's Woundwort. This is basically identical to the other one. It has a slightly different head, and this one came with some decals, which I spent way too long putting together, but for the most part, it's a lot like it's basically the same as the other one. There's not really that much to say about it. It's just white instead of dark blue and black. And this is another high grade, but this one did actually come with some decals and some really nice ones as well. I believe this is the 00 Diver Arc, which has some really nice effect parts that make it really stand out. I found that a good effect parts set can really make a kit sort of pop, is what I found. It kind of gives that sort of immediate draw because there's bright color seems to be flashing in your eyes. But yeah, this guy was pretty fun. I had a lot of fun building him, and decaling was also really fun because the decals sort of line up in really nice ways and cover up a lot of blank space, which makes him look like he's got a lot more detail than he really does. So I'm pretty happy with this one. I'm really happy with how this turned out. This is another Reborn 100 kit. This is the GP04 Gerbera, I forgot the exact name. I also got a decal set for this, which definitely does help because he's a bit plain for the most part, which is true of a lot of these sort of full mechanics and Reborn 100 kits. They tend to be a bit on the less detailed side, which unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I mostly got this one because it was cheap and I sort of needed to, and I wanted a kit, and I thought the GPO 4 was pretty cool, so went ahead and grabbed him, and honestly, really happy with how things turns out. And also he's great because he can stand himself up. He's got that little leg on the back of his third, I'm not sure what that's called, fin backpack thingy, but he's got a leg back there that lets him stand up pretty easily, which is always nice. Don't have to buy a stand. Saves me a bit of money. And we're keeping the theme here with the Raider Gundam. So this is another kit that I got some custom decals for that definitely really helped him come together a bit better. It gives him a bit more detail. I was sort of much. He's definitely an interesting kit. I don't think I've had any like full black kits, so this is the first one, but it's got a really unique color scheme. And I'm not sure I'm a huge design of the faceplate. It's got this weird gun sticking out of it, I want to say. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't watch Gundam, I just build kits, so I don't really know the lore that well. But I do know sort of picked up via osmosis, but it's a weird design for the faceplate, but it's alright. I don't mind it as much as some people. And then we have another Zaku, but this one's from Seeds. This is the Zaku Luna Maria Hawks Custom Zaku Warrior. Not really that much to say about this one. It was pretty standard master grade. The one kind of interesting thing was the sort of cord that connects the backpack to the gun, which had this cool fabric covering, which is kind of neat, but I mean, for the most part, kind of what you see is what you get. It's a slightly different Zaku that I got some custom decals for that helps. It definitely helps it a lot, but not that much to say about it. And so this is the first kit I tried to do, what should I call it? I'm completely blanking. Panel lighting, excuse me, that's what I was thinking of. The Magnum H2 Magnum from Build Fighters, from Build something. Maybe it's Build Fighters, I don't remember, don't really care either. But yeah, this is my first attempt at panel lining, and it went okay. I definitely didn't know what I was doing very well, which led to a lot of mistakes. And the panel lining it was fine, but it could have been a lot better. But for my first attempt, I think it went okay. This attempt went a lot better. This is my second attempt at panel lighting. This is the Gundam Legilis from regular Gundam Age, to no Build Fighter shenanigans. I mostly brought it because it kind of looks like a weird alien version of the regular RX-78, and I was kind of intrigued by that. And kind of, I think it's what it's kind of supposed to be in the show, but again, I know nothing about Gundam Age, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the panel lighting turned out on this. It turned out way better. It looks way cleaner. It's a lot easier to tell what I'm trying to go for here. So, you know what? I'm pretty happy with this one. And this is another one from Gundam Age, the Gundam Age FX. Again, kind of nice because it came with a stand and a cool little ring display thing. You can display those parts either on him or on the ring. And this is another sort of, I'm doing a lot of simpler kits because I'm trying to sort of work myself up to doing more and more panel lining, and I think this one also turned out really nicely. Which leads us to this kit, this guy, the Calria. So this kit guy I got some custom decals for as well, which definitely sort of helped him pop a little more, and obviously there was a lot more panel lining involved, which, especially with all those wing parts, took a very long time. I'm not sure why I didn't display him with his drones, but alright, he's got a bunch of drones with wing beam sabers and whatnot that should be flying around him, but I guess I forgot to take a picture of it. Regardless, otherwise, it's a pretty simple high grade. I mean, he's kind of bigger because of his wing units, but for the most part, he's just a regular high grade with a lot more detail because of all the golden filigree, I'm not sure what they're called, fleur-de-lises. I don't know what I'm saying. And so we move up to a little bit more complexity with the full mechanics, was it Forbidden Gundam? Yeah, Forbidden Gundam. So, more custom decals, more panel lining, a lot more panel lining because he's got a whole bunch of random little parts that needed panel lining, especially inside that, especially his back part. That required So much panel lining. Good lord, I used like a... I don't know how much panel lining I used, but it was a lot. But this is sort of my first 1x100 after sort of the semi-disaster was the H2 Magnum that sort of built up my confidence again to say, okay, I think I'm ready to do even more panel lining on some more complicated kits. Which led us to this guy, the Debon 00 Quantum. This guy was, I picked him mostly because of this. He's got this cool little stand that has the display for all of the, whatchamacallits, the parts, the blade parts that go on his two shoulder thingies. They're like shields, but not really. I'm not really sure what to call them, but anyway, the main problem I had with this one was that I ended up breaking a shoulder part and having to replace it with a 3D printed peg, and even to this day, that arm is still pretty weak. I'm not super confident it'll stay. And the other thing this guy had that I really liked was the light up chest. So he's got like a full LED unit in the chest that can turn on, which is kind of hard to see, but it's still pretty cool. I am still most happy with how this kit turned out, especially considering the disaster that almost resulted from me breaking that arm part. But still, I guess it was a lesson I probably should have learned from that, which maybe we'll talk about that later. And get another Zaku. This is another Zaku Warrior. This is the Zaku Gunner Phantom, I think is what the name is technically called. So it's pretty much identical to Luna Maria's Zaku Warrior, with the exception that this one is gray instead of red, and it also has 2 shields instead of her 1. Other than that, it's pretty much identical. I think it's literally identical other than that, so there's not really that much to say about it. It was a fine enough build, I'd say. And then we got where I used that stand from the Zaku High Mobility. I ended up jerry-rigging it to work with this guy, the Masquerade GPO-3 Stamen. So this guy has a lot of decals, and they really do help him make work a lot better, especially with the shield. The shield looks really great with that big old GP thingy on it. He also came with a second, core fighter, which most kits, a lot of kits don't. I think the only other one is the Double Zeta came with two core fighters, but for whatever reason, they threw in a second core fighter, which I was like, alright, I guess I'll have the 2 core fighters then. So one of them's curled up in his chest somewhere, I believe. Yeah. I think it's curled up in the chest, and the other one's just hanging out there. But this is a bit of an older Masquerade kit, but honestly, he went together pretty well. I didn't have any huge problems with him with parts not fitting properly, so I guess bandite quality was good even back then. I guess maybe it was more inconsistent. I don't know. I think that's probably more likely because this guy was fine, but the crossbone was not fine. But hey, I'm happy that he turned out as well as he did. Not gonna complain there. And then this is another third-party kit, which I mostly got because I really like the colors, and I still really do. This is the Martial Emperor. I forget who made it, but man, this guy has some really crazy and really vibrant colors. He's got those big orange parts on the wings, he's got the red, he's got those sort of blue rings, and all those sort of blue glowy bits. And the headpiece is really cool. He's got this sort of fiery mane coming out the back of his head. Man, they really went all out with this guy, and it turned out amazingly well. Like, this guy, he just pops really big. You notice him straight away, and he also was pretty fun to build for the most part. I didn't have any huge problems with him, and he turned out great. Like, the kit just looks amazing. I mean, credit to designers. I mean, a lot of Chinese stuff kind of looks bland, but this one looks very unique and it really stands out. So, hey, credit to designers. This one looks great. And then we have a truly bizarre kit. So this is an exclusive to all things Gundam-based Korea, which I think is a Gundam story. I'm assuming Korea. And it's a weird kit. It's a weird combination of a Blue Frame Stray and a Destiny Gundam. And it's just one of the most bizarre kits I've ever built. At least, well, I guess not that bizarre. It does kind of seem like something that would come out of, say, Build. But it is definitely weird to have it in this scale and with just this amount of, I guess, effort put in. It's got these weird laser katana things. I don't know what that whole deal is, but I mean, it's a cool kit. I'm kind of glad I did do it, but it is just bizarre. There's not much to say about it because I've built both kits already, so just slap them together and there you go. Alright, this little guy, this is the Wing Gundam Hanu. It's another build thing. This one's, I got less to say about it. It's basically, it's a tiny Wing Gundam with a bunch of flame stuff on him. Not much to say about that. I am planning on upgrading this guy eventually, but yeah, it's probably gonna be a while because I've got a bunch of other projects that I'd like to do first before I start going back to little guys like this. And then this guy, this is the real grade Zeta 3A type, which is technically, I believe it's Amuro's Zeta Gundam that he pilots in one of the movies. I actually got this because we were doing a project at my local, one of my model clubs I go to, that you would build a kit from the year that you were born. So I was born in 2001, and this movie came out in 2001. Had I, been a bit more intelligent, I would have realized that you could just, if you could pick something from one of the mangas, that probably would have made it a lot better, but I didn't, and so we have this, and yeah, it's still a cool kit. I'm still glad I picked it up. Probably would have picked it up eventually anyway, and it was a lot of fun to build, so you know what? Memes about the real grade Zeta aside, this one turned out pretty alright. This one, oh boy, so this is for whatever reason, I had not built a proper Master Grade RX-78, and for whatever reason, I ended up seeing a video, which came up in my recommended, I think, of someone building the Master Grade, RX-78. It just looked really cool. It had lots of detail, intricate parts, and I was like, man, that looks really cool. Let me give that a go. And so I gave it a go, and I had a lot of fun. This guy's really, really intricate. It's basically a Verka, but kind of not really. It has a lot of detail, a lot of decals to put on, tons of little sticker parts to give it more, to add more detail, and it ended up turning out really great. You can see it here. I've got the LED turned on. I think I stole it from the XN Razor. But yeah, I am really quite happy with how this one turned out, and I'm glad they gave you a second core fighter so you can display it separately in that size too. They do that randomly. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You'll see. But yeah, I'm not the hugest fan of the RX-78. It's a bit boxy, it's a bit basic. It doesn't have like a cool backpack, which for me, my kids have to have a backpack, otherwise I'm just visibly upset. But you know what? This one gets a pass. It's good enough to break through my bias. If that tells you anything. This kit, oh boy. So this is the EXS Gundam from Gundam Sentinel. And I got this third party, and man, that was probably a mistake. This guy is kind of rough. He's kind of a plastic bomb to the point where I just dare not move him very far for fear of him just exploding. And the decals were, oh boy, there wasn't really much of a guide, so most of what you see here is made up. And I also spilled decal softener all over the paper, which essentially forced me to try to grab as many as possible and slap them on the model. So a process I thought was going to take like 3 days ended up taking like 1 day, which I guess there's benefits to that. And also, the stickers really did not want to stay down, so I ended up having to glue most of them down, which took just forever. And good lord, there is a very nice mechanical kit of this Gundam that I am going to try and get eventually one day when I can be bothered. But oh boy, this one was it was a rough time. It was not very fun, let me tell you that much. There were better parts of it that were fun, but for the most part, this was just, oh boy. Yeah, I'm going after that mechanical kit one day. Next time, baby. And this one, okay, so this is the Sinanju Stein narrative Verka. So I wasn't happy with my original Sinanju Stein, and I saw the narrative, and I was like, you know what? I like the Sinanju. I think it's a cool mech. Let me grab the narrative and see if I can't do a better job this time. And you know what? I think I did. I had a lot of fun with this kit. It brought back some good memories of building the old Sinanju Stein. Came together really well, and decals worked great this time, unlike the last time, and it's just a really cool looking kit. It's kind of a darker version of the Sinanju. It's mostly the same, except with the exception of the sleeves parts, which you can see on the wrists and the chest. But other than that, it's basically the same kit. I think the only other difference is I think you can join the gun and the rocket launcher together to make like one thing. I don't know if that's possible on the original Sinanju Stein. I'd have to check, and I'm not digging back through the instructions to find the instructions for that thing. But yeah, I mean, it's basically another Sinanju Stein, so you've already seen it. Let's move on to the Meteor unit. Oh boy, so I was going through another phase of getting a bunch of big high grades and found this one for relatively cheap, and so I picked it up, and good lord, is it big. Like, you know, this is a really big high grade. You can see my real grade Freedom down there in the middle, and you can just see just how big that thing is. Like, it is long. And the beam sabers, or beam projector, whatever those are called at the front, those make it even longer. And yeah, I'm really glad that Delphi had some decals, because this kit gets a bunch of just big empty spaces, and those decals really do help break it up to make it look a lot more, you know, complete, I guess you'd say. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun build, but the bad part about it was the panel lining. There's so much panel lining to do. Like, this kit took way longer because there was just so much panel lining I had to do. But in the end, I am really quite happy with how this one turned out. It looks great. You know, it sits pretty comfortably on my shelf. I'll admit it, without the beams, because I had to take this out because I don't even have a shelf long enough to hold that thing with the beams without it just hanging over the edge or whatever. But yeah, cool kit. Really not much else to say. It was a pretty simple build, and you've already seen me talk about the Freedom. So, all right, this guy, the Perfect Grade Mark II. This one I picked out specifically because I saw this one come up. It looked relatively inexpensive, and my first ever kit, which you saw way back at the beginning of this video, was a high grade Gundam Mark II. So I was like, you know what? Why not upgrade to Perfect Grade Mark II? And I'm glad I did. This was another kit that was quite fun to build. Had a lot of cool little interesting details, like it had these sort of metal ropes almost that you would use to add some detail. Had a lot of very intricate parts and a really cool LED system, and really cool way to turn on the LED system, by the way. It was really well integrated into the kit. Made it a lot more accessible and easy to turn on the LEDs, unlike some kits I could name. We'll get to those in a moment. But yeah, this one was pretty fun. There were some annoying parts, like the yellow in particular seems to really like to just fall apart, and there's also some misreading of the instructions on my end that made things more complicated than they really had to be. And the decals there wasn't the greatest guy for them, so I ended up making up a lot of stuff. But for the most part, you know, this kit turned out pretty great, and I'm quite pleased with it. You know, it's a really sort of great successor to my very first ever Gunpla kit. And we're back to the big high grade. So we got the Exia Exia GN arms. We'll get those Trans Am in a moment, but yeah, I saw this one and I wanted to do it with the real grade Exia because Delphi sells a decal pack that I think includes decals for the real grade Exia. So I guess I got my first Exia as well, although I guess I technically already did have the Avalanche Exia, but my first regular Exia, minus a gazillion parts. But yeah, this is the Exia itself, there's not really much worth talking about because it's pretty standard real grade, but the GN Arms kit is just a bizarre construction of like a bunch of different parts that come together to form this very strange little craft. It's difficult to explain without watching the build because you build a bunch of parts and then they come together at the end and you're like, I'm not quite sure how that worked out, but okay. And it's an interesting build, I'll give it that much. I'm not sure if I 100% like it. It's a weird craft, but you know, I've got to complete my big high grades collection, so into the pool it went. And you know, I'm reasonably happy with how it turned out, so you know, there's that. And yeah, this is the kit that you're supposed to build with that. This is the high grade Exia Trans Am, but I wanted the real grade for a bit more detail, so this guy ended up getting built his own little separate thing, and he's reasonably cool. He's like mostly the same. I think there's like some stickers and a couple of parts that are different, but for the most part, it's just a high grade Exia. I mean, I guess it's cool to have, but there's not really much to say about it other than that. And here's another really small. I ended up having this stand left over from something, I can't remember what, but I was like, I need to put something on this, so I purchased this very cheap high-grade Gundam Wyndham from Seed and built him in like a day, and that's pretty much all there is to say about him. It's very basic high-grade. There's not much more to say about it than that. And then there's this guy, which starts my obsession with Red Frame. Well, not starts it, but he definitely contributed to it quite a bit. So I forget why or how I bought this kit. I guess I just saw it somewhere and thought it looked cool, but this is the Gundam Astray Red Frame Turn Red, which is basically a normal red frame with some slight color variation, a very low 3 frame, and 2 absolutely enormous swords. Like, basically half the kit is just those swords that are also machine guns for whatever reason. Yes, they managed to fit machine guns into those giant swords. I'm not sure why or how, but they're there for reasons. And man, this guy is... I don't know how on earth they expect you to stand this guy up. So I got a action base 4 and then had the swords kind of prop him up. And that kind of works, but not really. Man, it's a... You know, they definitely didn't think this one through. I'd also make I would also, if I had to redesign this kit, I'd also make the connection between the swords and his backpack a lot more sturdy, because they love to fall out. I mean, it's really annoying. But for the most part, aside from the big swords, he's just a regular master grade red frame. So let's move on to this guy. Okay, the Gundam Virtue. This is another one from Gundam 00, I believe from the first series, and he's interesting, let me say that much. So this guy's technically 2 Gundams, so underneath he's the Gundam Natalie, and with the armor on he's the Gundam Virtue. So when I was browsing around for this guy, I ended up coming across a special stand that called the Unleash stand that allowed you to display him with all of his armor sort of cross-sectioned out. If you've ever seen like an exploded diagram, it's kind of like that. And so I ended up picking that up and going ahead and building him with the stand, and honestly, I am pretty happy with how it turned out. Like, it turned out really cool. I really like how it allows you to see sort of the Natalie sort of wires that come out of his head, as to see how the armor fits on and how all the parts sort of come together. It's a really cool effect. Unfortunately, it does make him kind of hard to move around safely, because he loves to just fall over or lose parts randomly, but you know what? For the most part, I think it turned out pretty well, and he's more sturdy than I thought. I'll give it that, but not sturdy enough for me to feel comfortable throwing him around or moving him around a bunch. But it's a cool effect. You can see the little light in his chest, which is a pain to turn on and off, which is why I don't do it very much. But it's pretty cool, and I am pretty happy with the result. So, you know, I guess money well spent. And this is part 1 of sort of 30. These next 3 pictures are from one kit, but I sort of separated them out. So this is the Destiny Gundam Spec 2, which is a high-grade Destiny, which for the most part it's a Destiny Gundam. And then the next part is this Zeus thing. It's this big winged thing with a massive gun and a bunch of other parts on it. But what they do is combine into this, the Destiny Gundam Spec 2 Zeus Silhouette, which is another one of these big high grades. So he's got his big, gigantic gun, and he's got a bunch of parts on both his chest and his backpack and his legs to create this weird little kit that needs 2 stands to hold it up, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Never seen that one before, but it's definitely a very interesting kit, and I know it's a bit of a weird one because you can kind of do it separately or together. I've got pictures of all 3, but yeah, it's definitely a unique build, I'll give it that much, but I'm not really sure if I have anything to say about it other than that. And this isn't my second ever official high resolution. I'm not counting the Devon Wing Gundam. But yeah, this guy, I had never built anything from G Gundam before, and so this was going to be my first, and I have a much better appreciation for for G Gundam after building this kit. I still don't like a lot of the designs, but the God Gundam I definitely do appreciate. I had a lot of fun building this one. I really appreciated a lot of the very nice details that it has, and this kit actually sort of holds a very special place in my heart because it won me second place at a local model convention. So you know what? Hey, I definitely do like. I definitely have an appreciation for this kit, both for what it is, and it's sort of my own, and sort of on a more personal level because it won me something pretty big. So the one downside about it is that it's really expensive because they don't make this kit anymore, and it's quite desirable. But hey, I think there's a third-party one out there now, so if you want to get one, you can go ahead and grab that. And returning to the gold frame, so this is another gold frame Amatsu Hana. But this is in 1x100 scale. I wasn't happy with the real grade, as I think I mentioned back in that section, and so I wanted a new one, and the only one that you could find was either the Devon one, which doesn't need to be in production anymore, and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I was not going to pay a ridiculous amount on eBay, so I ended up buying the regular Bandai, the old Bandai one from like 2005. It's definitely mid 2000s. So before the term Master Grade was officially introduced, so it's listed as a 1x100 Amatsu Hana instead of just a Master Grade Amatsu Hana. But yeah, this one was a pretty simple kit, and because it's mostly black, I didn't have to do a bunch of panel lining, which is great. So I was able to sort of just blitz through this one pretty quickly. One bad part was that the decals for it are kind of meant for I think they're actually meant for a figure, so there was a lot of just winging it and slapping around stuff to see what looked good in what places, and you know what, for the most part, I think it worked out pretty well, so I'm happy with it. This guy has a bit of an interesting story. I ended up buying this weapons pack by accident, and I needed something to put it on, so I ended up going with this guy. So this is the Tri-Burning Gundam, high grade, obviously, and I ended up going with his excessive fire look, which meant fire punch, fire kick, and fire coming out of every body part he has. It's definitely a pretty cool kit, and I really like the effect of it because it looks like he's kind of exploding with flame. The blue weapon, I think, it's kind of out of place, but it does kind of contrast very nicely with the flames, so I think it works for the most part. Other than that, not really that much to say. It's a high grade. What you see is what you get, pretty much. And this is another high grade with a weird story, because I also got it because I had another kit. So I got the high grade O-Razor quite a long time ago, and I didn't really know what to do with it for the longest time. Like, I had it, and I was like, I want to, do something with this thing, but I'm not sure what to put it on. I could put it on an O-Rate on a 00, but I would be becoming a regular 00 O-Razor, which they already have. Like, why would I bother doing that? And then I saw, the 7 sword, that could hook into this. So I decided to combine it with a high grade 7 sword to get this high grade 7 sword O-Razor combo, which I don't think they sell, but I made anyway. And I think for the most part, I think it turned out pretty well. It's definitely a bit of a plastic grenade. It does not want to stay together really well. He likes dropping his shield a lot and falling over. But as long as you don't touch him, it's a pretty cool little kit, so I'm happy with it. And this is another Devon kit, which I was originally planning on getting the regular Hyakushiki, and then I saw that this guy was available, and this guy has the Mega Particle Launcher, I think that's what it's called, but regardless. So I noticed he had the Mega Particle Launcher, as well as a bunch of stuff that helps him hook into it. So I was like, alright, well, let's do that instead. So that's what I did. I got the kit, and yeah, this one was a lot of fun to build. It's a pretty straightforward high grade for the most part. Sorry, master grade, what am I saying? The interesting parts are definitely the particle launcher, which is big and very blue, as well as the backpack parts that hook into his legs and a bit on his chest as well. And I mean, it definitely creates a very interesting silhouette. I'm not 100% sure I like how the backpacks make him look, but you know what? It's a unique enough kit that I'm sort of willing to let it go. And then we have this guy. This is the Sananju, but this is the what's it called? I think it's Takumi Studios conversion kit. So originally this was a resin kit that they made into a plastic kit but now you can just buy regular, but I was just about a month too early, so I ended up buying a regular Sinanju and the conversion, and spending hours and hours and hours getting this thing to come together properly, because, man alive, was it not easy at all. So underneath this guy is, for the most part, a regular Master Grade Sinanju, but he's got like a gazillion parts that all kind of needed to fit on top of him to make it all look nice and proper, and it took forever for me to finish this kit, and of course, no decal guide, so I just made some stuff up, and I am pretty happy with how this turned out. Like, it turned out looking amazing, but man, there was a lot of effort and a lot of pain involved in making him work properly, so I guess thanks guys for releasing the full kit. Like, I don't know, was it like, it was within like a month of me buying this thing, they released the regular version, but hey, you know, what you gonna do, right? It is what it is. I'm happy, I got my kit, it looks great, so, you know, whatever. And this guy, oh boy, so this is the Master Grade Extreme Unicorn Gundam, lit up here in all his wonderful glory. So, I really do like a lot of the unicorns, mostly. The full armor was kind of a pain in the butt, but I think I bought this kit when I got a bonus, let's say, and I was like, alright, I want to splurge, let me get something big and cool, so picked up this guy. This is a very, very, very nice kit. Like, it is, you can definitely tell that they poured a lot of effort into this thing, but good lord, is it very complicated. So he's got this very cool little stand, and he plugs into it because there's a huge amount of light strip inside all of that bottle that's takes ages to figure out how to fold it properly so you can fit all the parts around it. But the effect is very cool. Like, watching it glow like that, like, it's really cool, but it does take quite a long time to sort of do everything properly. And of course, he's got 3 shields that of course take ages to build because they've all got Vulcans on them and a bunch of decals, and oh boy. Yeah, the shields are definitely the most tedious part of the build, but the actual kit, when it's all said and done, is really cool. So, I mean, if you've got a bunch of money to spare, go for it, but be warned, you know, this kit is not cheap, and it does require quite a bit of effort to do properly. It is worth it, though, if you can afford it. And we're back to the red frame, so this is the Gundam Stray red frame Red Dragon from Premium Bandai. I showed a few P Bandai kits on this list, but this is one of them. This is probably my favorite red frame, I'd say, of the bunch. I really like the sort of the glowy sort of V-fin he's got, and his backpack is kind of a unique take. It's these sort of weird sword gun things he's got in his backpack. I'm not really sure what to call them, but hey, I think they look cool. I actually think they're called like Callet Watch or something like that. I forget. Regardless, it's, you know, it's another Master Grade red frame. I've shown you a bunch of these already. The only real difference here is the backpack and the V-fin. Other than that, it's pretty much the same, so let's move on to this guy, the Golden Warrior, which is sort of a third-party take on, I believe, the, Hyakushiki Kai. So, for the most part, so you build like the regular Golden Warrior, and then you up-armor him into the upgraded version, which involves quite a lot of covering up various parts. And he's got his big old backpack with his guns on it. I ended up displaying him with his twin katana-like beam sabers. I mean, it's definitely a neat little kit. I don't really have that much to say about it other than the way you turn off the LEDs is by using a magnet, which works for the backpack but does not seem to work for the head. I'm not sure what's up with that, and I'm not really interested in trying to fix it after spending way too much time doing that already, so it is what it is. But hey, you know, it came together pretty easily, and there weren't too many disasters along the way, other than I think I broke the antenna a couple times, but other than that, it came together pretty well. And the red frames continue with another high-grade rendered, well, actually the first high-grade red frame that I've gotten, the red frame inversion. I think lately this is a build kit, and this one has a bit of an interesting source. I found this kit for cheap on eBay, and I don't know if I didn't read the description properly, but it came to me partially assembled, and I think at least one part was broken, and the parts that were assembled were not assembled very well, so I had to disassemble it completely, clean up a bunch of parts, and then reassemble it from scratch. But, it ended up turning out pretty great. I was able to save basically the whole kit, and it turned out pretty good, all things considered. So, you know what? I saved a bit of money, and mission accomplished. It turned out, like you see in front of you, it turns out just fine. So, hey, I guess it goes to show that sometimes you can find some cheap stuff on eBay that's actually worth it, even if it is a bit messed up. And yet another red frame, the Sengoku Astray, which is sort of technically a red frame. It's from, it's another build kit. So it's just sort of a weird, this is a very weird red frame. So it comes with, you build a red frame and then you up armor, I believe. The feet are different, the legs are changed around a bit, and you've got these parts on top of him. The shoulders are different. He's got a weird demon face backpack. Kind of interesting, and I believe the head's a bit different as well, but again, for the most part, this is a red frame. And this guy, man, the main problem I have with this guy, which is the problem I have with pretty much, I think, every single red frame I've built up until this point, has had at least one part break. And for this guy, it was basically his entire crotch, like the parts that connect the legs to the waist, just shattered into a million pieces. I ended up just having to repair them with super glue, so he's basically stuck like that, which I'm fine, because, man alive, I was never fixing those parts. Other than that disaster, he came together pretty well, I'd say. He's a interesting kit, if you haven't built a billion red frames like I have, in which case he's a bit less interesting, but, for the most part, I'd say. Solid kit. I won't say I'm happy with how it turned out, but I'm content. Let's go with that. Let's say I'm content. And then this guy, oh boy, so I wanted something a bit easier to do next. And I was like, hey, this Master Grade 1/100 V-Tiger Hainu Gundam, it comes with a frame already assembled. I'll just slap some more pieces on the frame and call it a day. And it did not work like that, at all. Good lord, this was just maybe the most effort I've put into a kit until one that's coming soonish. He took me over a week, I think, and it was just an endless slog of parts that didn't want to go on properly. I ended up, the worst part in terms of parts that didn't want to fit properly was the two tanks on the back that, man, me and my dad ended up having to come up with a way to disassemble them and reassemble them, which was not easy at all. And the decals, there was no guide, so I ended up having to look online, and there was no proper guide there either, so I ended up staring at blurry pictures on the internet for like 5 days to do all the decals. Good lord, it was just a mess. It did end up turning out very well. Like, I am quite happy with how it turned out, but the process to get there was not very fun. So if you're looking, this is another kit that was started out as a resin kit and was made into a proper model, or a regular model eventually. So if you're looking at this one, just be prepared to work a lot to get this thing done, because I had to work a lot and it just about broke me. And this kit, okay, so this was also a very long and complicated kit, but I actually had quite a bit of fun with this one, so I have more fond memories of this kit than I do other ones. And so this is the 1/100 Kshatriya from Axis Model Works, or Solomon as they're also known. And man, this guy was a lot. This guy is very well detailed, tons of features, all sorts of cool little electronic parts. And turning him on and off is actually very easy. To turn on these sort of the wing parts, you just lift them up, and they automatically switch on. To turn on the head part, it's like a switch hidden under the head, so you can actually knock his head back just a little forward a little bit, and turn it on. And there's a ton of cool little features hidden all over this thing. And he's got really nice decals as well, and a really cool stand, and man, they just did a truly amazing job with this kit. Like, I was very impressed with how well this kit fits together. I don't remember having any like super annoying parts that just didn't want to go in. Like, if you're looking for really good third-party kits, Solomon does amazing work. Like, really, really impressive. This may be my favorite kit I've ever built. Maybe. It's definitely up there. Like, I'm really happy with how this kit turned out. You know, golf clap. Really well done. Very expensive, too, unfortunately, but just incredible work. I'm very happy with this one. And here we go with the red frames again. So this is the Dubon red frame Mars jacket, which is not really a red, not really close to a red frame. You know, it has some of the same parts, but the shoulders are different. They're built differently. The arms are built a bit differently. The legs are built a bit differently. He's got a different gun. He's got those two sort of sword cannons on his back. So this was definitely more interesting builds. It went together fairly easily for a third-party kit. Like, I didn't have any huge problems with it. And, you know, the difference in terms of how it differed from other red frame kits I built definitely made it a lot more interesting for me. I don't have that much to say about it, but, you know, it did turn out, I think it turned out very well. It didn't take me too long, it wasn't too painful, so you know what? Thumbs up. Really enjoyed this one, so if you're looking for a cool little kit to add to your collection, this one's pretty inexpensive, and it was pretty fun to build. And then we go back to the huge kit. So this is the Master Grade Extreme Strike Freedom Gundam. So I got a bunch of parts to go with this kit. So I got some custom decals, I got the effect parts, I got the wings, a whole bunch of effect parts for both I forget whatever these blue guys are that come off his wings, and of course the parts for the wings themselves. And I got some metal joints. The metal joints were definitely a mistake. They did not fit super well, and they're either too tight or too loose, so I ended up scrapping a lot of them. I did use some of them. Some of them are on the kit. So I believe there's a part on the V-fin that's metal, as well as some joints on the wings and the legs. But for the most part, I ended up just taking them off because they were just bad. They didn't work properly. The effect parts worked very well, and the LEDs worked amazing. You can't see it in this picture, but there's a remote that comes with this that gives you a ton of control, so you can make those wings glow in all sorts of crazy colors, and his eyes glow as well, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, like, for my second go around, I think I did a lot better, and I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Like, it turned out amazing. Very, very satisfied with this one. And then there's this guy. So this kit was sitting dormant in my collection, or my pile of shame as it were, for like 5 months. I ended up getting a broken part, which was one of those big shield parts that are on his shoulders right now, and it ended up being broken. I was like, well, crap, let me request a new one, and it took months and months of a bit of back and forth, and then just waiting for ages for it to finally arrive. And then during the building of my Strike Freedom, it did. So I was like, alright, I can finally get rid of this stupid thing. So finished building it, and then started doing the many decals. So Delphi Decal did a custom job for this thing, and I must say, it does wonders, because this kit looks quite barren without them, I must say. It's got a lot of big empty spaces, and those decals really do just make all the difference. I'm really happy that I made that investment. And the kit itself is pretty fun to build. It's a big high grade, so, you know, it's not the most complicated thing in the world, but it's got a lot of cool little details here and there. But the decals really do help it a lot. And it's got a very unique color scheme, too, which definitely sort of helps, you know, helps it stand out on a shelf. So I am quite happy with this one. I am quite pleased, you might say. And then there's this guy, which for some reason you guys really liked my build video on this. I'm not sure why, but I'm not complaining. So if you don't know, I also collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I haven't bought any in quite a while, but I have a small Yu-Gi-Oh collection that I'm pretty happy with. And this is one of them. This is one of the cards I have. You can see it right down there in front of him, the Divine Arsenal A Zeus Sky Thunder. So when I found out they were having a kit of him made, I was like, hey, that looks pretty cool. I'll pick that up. And so I ended up picking it up for over $100, which is, in my opinion, way too expensive. But the kit itself it's a pretty fun build. It's pretty basic, all things considered. It took me like a couple days at most, maybe 3 days, because I was kind of slow building, but I ended up putting this guy together pretty quickly, and he does look pretty great. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a pretty cool, pretty unique kit, but definitely not worth the price. Still pretty fun build for the most part, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, so hey, I guess it wasn't all bad, and I got some good views out of it too, so it's alright in my book. Alright, and then we have my third perfect grade. Yes, my third. This is the perfect grade red frame stray, just the regular one, with the little extendo kit, which gives him a second gun, some transparent parts that I didn't use, and a second sword, which I did use, and you can see it right there. This is a very interesting kit because I built so many red frames before, so I was figuring, oh, this one will be kind of more or less the same as all the other ones, and it actually wasn't, which is weird, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a very fun, very interesting build. Aside from me spending way too much money on that secondary kit, that was really the only bad part. It was a lot of fun to build this one, and it turned out really well. I'm really quite happy with how it turned out, and the stand was a bit small, but hey, we made it work. This ended up being a pretty enjoyable build, which I was kind of surprised by. I didn't really expect it to be as unique, as interesting as it was, but I guess after building like the regular ones for so long, building really big ones sort of kind of throws you off a little bit. That's, if you know what I mean. Like, it's kind of like, oh, this piece which I've normally had to do for so long is really big now, and I'm kind of surprised by that. But yeah, fun build. Expensive, yes, but pretty fun. And then, oh boy, the anime girl. So this is the White Knight Galahad from Animester, I believe that's the name of the company. This one was interesting. So I'd seen these various anime girl figurines and whatnot all over the place for ages now, and I was like, I guess I kind of have to know, so I picked this one because both of them that was like not quite so, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it right now. Like, I guess over-sexualized? Yeah, we'll go with that. Bit PG, but we'll leave it for that for now. But this was a pretty interesting kit. It comes together kind of how you'd expect for the most part. It's not really that much different like a Gundam kit. Like, it's closer than you'd think. I mean, they're both humanoid, so I guess not that surprising. But yeah, for the most part, this is kind of pretty humanoid-ish. The one bad part about this kit was that the decals were completely trash. Like, they broke apart so often, and it was just a friggin' mess. But yeah, we made it work in the end, and I am pretty happy with this kit. I'm quite happy with how it turned out, even if it is a bit, got a lot of kind of tiny little fiddly little parts, which kind of, yeah, not so fun, but for the most part, it's a pretty solid enough kit. And this one, okay, so this is the Gundam Estrella Type F that I got from Debon. I mostly just got it because I found it on a third-party website, and I was like, hey, that looks cool, let me get that. So it's pretty much just a red Estrella with a whole bunch of extra parts. So it's got a bunch of guns, shields, swords, a mace for whatever reason. I don't really have that much to say about it. I mean, it's an Estrella with a bunch of extras. I mean, the worst part is all those extras take so long to build and to panel line, but hey, it ended up looking pretty cool in the end, so I'm not too mad about it. And then we have another Verka. I think this is the last one I've done for now, that being the Narrative Gundam C-Packs. So I wanted to do another proper narrative Gundam. I've technically done the A-Packs, but his little tiny high grade didn't really count. So I decided, hey, let's grab the C-Packs, why not? I thought it'd be a lot more like the Unicorn than it actually is, but turns out it's quite a bit more different, which I guess I'm kind of happy about, because it, gives me sort of a unique experience. I believe this is actually supposed to come before Unicorn, I think, so I guess sort of acts as sort of a Unicorn predecessor, if you will. But yeah, this one's it was pretty fun for the most part. A lot of decals, which he does have in common with the Unicorns, and the sort of the energy. I think the Psycho Frame parts of what those are called. Yeah, those do definitely add quite a lot to it. But yeah, overall, pretty fun build. But you can see the core fighter tucked up in his chest there. Is one of the ones where it does that, and no setback from separate ones. You just get the one that's just gone forever, I guess. Ah, well, whatever. Still fun build. And this is another one I got off a whim from, I think, AliExpress of all places. Yeah, this is the Kihar 2. So I grabbed this one. I just kind of was like, all right, looks cool. Let's get it, and I did, and it was pretty fun for the most part. It came together a lot more easily than I thought. Did have a couple parts that required some chemical assistance. By chemical assistance, I mean glue. And I did end up pretty much having to just make up the decals as I went along. Like I just slapped whatever I wanted wherever I wanted, because I was like, hey, this looks like a good place for a decal. Looks cool there. Bam, go. But you know what? It ended up working out pretty well for me overall. So you know what? I'm not unhappy with how it turned out. Like I think it turned out pretty well, all things considered. So you know, it's a weird looking kit. It's kind of unique, so it kind of stands out on the shelf a little bit. So hey, you know what? I think this one turned out just fine. And the last red frame for now, the red frame flight unit, which is basically just the inversion, but now it's bigger. No, master grade sized. And yep, that's basically what it is. It's a big old red frame version, although technically the red frame version is more like a recolored, smaller version of the flight unit, but whatever. We're not talking about that. I don't really have that much to say. This is like the 8th red frame on this list. You know what it is by now. Well, no parts broke this time, which is good. Finally broke the curse. I didn't have any parts break on me. At least I don't think. If there did, I forgot about it, so must not have mattered. Next, this kit. Okay, the Gundam, the Infinite Justice Gundam Type 2. So, with the effect parts, so he's got those little wings, and there's some more effect parts back there, but you can't see them. So, I initially intended to I got some custom resin parts that were sort of meant to add some more detail to this guy, but I ended up not using them just because they kind of sucked. I don't know if they sucked, I painted them badly. Like I spent like a whole day painting the parts, and then I was like, yeah, this looks like trash. I'm just gonna go with the regular and add some decals and hope no one notices. And you know what? I still think it turned out pretty great. This was definitely a nice kind of relaxing build, because this was during the middle of my Zygopovices build, which you'll be seeing in just a moment. But you know what? I think this one turned out just fine. Especially the decals. The decals do help a lot. And speaking of, here is the Zygopovices. This is a very large, very complicated kit from Mechanicore, which is a maker of extremely overcomplicated and very detailed sort of Gundam remakes, I guess you want to say. So this is the Masthead Zygopovices, which is a version of the GP01 Fulburden from Stardust Memory. And man, is it, boy, it is quite the kit. It's got a bunch of electronics, a gazillion parts with like screws going up to the Z's, giant stand, like all just tons and tons and tons of features. Like it's got a big old core fighter that folds up into the chest, and just the hardest part about this kit was definitely the LEDs. Like there's 2 in the shoulders, there's 4 on the thrusters on the back. Well, technically there's 6 if you count the shoulder thrusters. Well, I guess they're kind of also on the back, whatever. But man, those electronics really did not want to go in a lot of the time. And the ones that are attached up top, attached to the top of his backpack, really did not want to go in. And they fought me a lot, and stuff broke, and I had to bust out the soldering iron, and parts broke, and I had to bust out the 3D printer, and good Lord Almighty, this thing just put up a massive fight to not get built, and whew boy. But by the end of it, it was built, it was decaled, and now it's done. And now I don't have to think about it ever again. You know, this is one I'm satisfied, but I'm also kind of relieved that it's finally done, because, man, this was, whew. And I definitely had to up my game quite a bit for this one, and in a way I'm sort of glad I did build it, because it taught me a lot about just doing these more complicated kits, but it also kind of beat me up quite a bit, I'll say that much. And finally, for now, the last kit we're going to be showing off, at least in this video, is Mobile Armor Hashmouth. This is a quick little high grade I got for Christmas, of all things, and I mainly picked it because it was like, it looks kind of interesting, and I guess it kind of is. So definitely a more unique looking kit, I'll give it that. There's not really that much to say about it, because it's pretty basic, but you know what? Basic doesn't mean bad. This kit's pretty unique, so it's got that going for it. But yeah, that'll do it for now. So once again, thank you for 100 subscribers. I hope to be doing more of these videos sometime in the future, but we'll have to see how things progress from here. But for now, that should do it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.